good day to all of you. We have myself, Liz Geyer. I'm an advocate of the Language of Consciousness Institute, here with Beryl McCandless, also an advocate of the Language of Consciousness Institute. And Beryl and I have just been talking about what a powerful week it's been. And we've both had some very large insights in what is happening with ourselves and with the field this week. And so we're going to have a conversation about them. So Beryl, why don't you start with, I call it the brick concept, where, you know, you hit a brick wall and all of a sudden things, a chain of events begin to happen, and a lot of learning takes place, which is what has happened with both of us. And so I'm going to let you begin and what your insights have been.
I think it's been more than a week.
It's true.
There are many ways to hit a brick wall. I'm sure everybody can name how they've experienced hitting a brick wall. One of the most common is to become ill and be the last one to figure it out, if that makes sense. Because the mesmerization of doing and, you know, getting things done, having to have things done, it catches up with you, and it can basically knock you out. And that's what happened. That's what I experienced. Was that the physicality was knocked down and was basically put in a situation where it had to rest. And there wasn't any getting around it because I was not at home. I was in a hospital facility. So to make a very long, interesting story short, I was given in that moment the opportunity to surrender into that rest, that healing, to allow myself to be held by the greater powers and forces that were simply waiting for me to be present to those energies. And in that, there was magic and grace and healing. And the remarkable thing about it was that it just, of course, wasn't Beryl or the body. It was everyone who came into that hospital room was touched by that grace and the powers and forces that were there. And the breathing was affected. So what became a profound insight was that whatever's going on, we have that opportunity to slow down and take a breath. Sometimes it literally is just to stop and take a breath because you have to. But if you can do that consciously, to stop and mindfully take a breath and take another breath and take another breath. There is something magical in the reset of that opportunity. And that's what I have been in the experience of, is that opportunity to take a breath. and take another breath. And in that is awareness and gratitude, surrender, grace. And that was the biggest learning. It was stunning. It was a whole reset. And recently, it was said, self-care is handling the moment of now. And in that moment of now, that's all there is. And it can be as simple as taking a breath. Liz, you have anything you want to add?
Wow. It's just very profound. The brick didn't come at me as hard as I would say it came at you. And in a humorous way, I was telling Beryl, I literally saw the fork in the road this last week. For anyone who's watched the Muppet movie, I just loved that part where there was a literal fork in the road. Only this time, it was like the fork came out and slapped me in the face and said, you have to make choices. So all kinds of meta points came together to formulate making choices, and to also show me that I needed to surrender. And in doing that, in surrendering, like Beryl, I really got the visceral feeling of what surrendering feels like. And to know that I too am held. There were a series of small little things that happened over this last week where I was just shown the path. One of the ones was I was to present a slideshow this morning, and in the preparation for that slideshow, that which is taking care of me, these powers and forces greater than myself, showed me that I had everything that I needed on my computer ready to go. And it was very, very simple. And I felt probably for the first time ever what that feels like to know that I'm being taken care of in a really visceral way. And it's almost as though time stopped while I was in this experience. And it took no time at all to get this project going that I'd been dreading for so long. And the other small little bricks that came at me during this week to show me that I did need to surrender into something greater than myself came swiftly, one after another. And so I think we all are in this position of where we're being forced to take a stand, take a breath, to really step back and slow down and be held in something that we've been told over and over just in the recent past here. There's this force, I don't know about you, but I'm a big believer in the Jedi Knights and the Force. And we're now seeing that we're continually being shown how to care for ourselves in this huge reset of humanity. And I'm noticing that it's in the reset, it's completely taking my attention to be in the reset. meaning that I'm not allowing distractions of what's going on in the outside world to enter into what needs to happen in the next breath. So for me, this past week as well, that mesmerization, it's like the cloak is lifted, and now we can see. So I'm just finding it fascinating too, because in the new field work that some of us are involved with, there are these 5 keys to mastery, and surrender is one of them. And so it's just fascinating to me that that the material that's needed to really dig into occurs simultaneously, you know, at the same time through life's experiences. And another thing that you and I were talking about is you know, we talk all the time about writing the creation exercises, but this time I noticed that I and others in the new field work are now writing the templates in response to these 5 keys, and in response to the coaching that we're receiving. And I'm just noticing that everything's kind of melding together, marrying together, and the language that's needed, such as surrender. Another key is intentionality. That one comes after surrender. And I'm noticing intentionality be a key part of what's happening in my world to help to guide me to be clearer on where I stand now in this moment. So anything for you on that? I know you said something about self-care, so go into that.
Well, I'm going to touch base on the words that you used in the new field work. And that's a wonderful way to use the templates. And, you know, in writing the creation exercises, it gives your perceptive mind a lens, a greater lens, and that moves into shifting your loka. So when you have this greater lens in which to view what's going on, and your loka becomes larger, then you have more playing room. You have more to explore. And, you know, with the fascination and curiosity. And that's when things, for me, kind of pop up. And, you know, it becomes bubbly inside. You know, in my sentient registers, things become bubbly. It becomes fun. And it's okay not to have a clue. Sometimes it's better. And to play with it. And it's like, oh, okay, there's more room. And the sentient registers respond to that. So, and the creation exercises become deeper, broader, and wider from within. And it gets juicier. So anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I very back to the experience I had writing a template a couple of days ago, where and I don't even remember what it was about. I think it was about being stable, and I could feel the expansion. It was, yeah, craving something about craving what being stable is. for me. And I could feel the body move into a stability stance as a result of that. So whereas before, when I used to write the exercises, I would feel the field and the spiraling of the template. This time I felt the stability land in the body. So it's just really exciting. And being able to create an exercise in the moment in response to another person's craving that they had written. It just seemed to pop up in the moment. So it was really, really helpful. And it was a form of self-care, I feel, because I did feel really held. And I also felt that there's a new thread now of some kind, that's been created as a result of being in this new self-care. So it's pretty cool.
What I like is that when we do these creation exercises, you begin to feel the strength, stamina, capacity in our being, and being more of who and what we are, and allow, and in that there's the experience of allowing. And while you were speaking, you kept saying stability, and what has come up for me is equilibrium. Is that equilibrium in body, mind, and spirit? And how do you sentiently register that? How do you sentiently register stability? For me, sometimes I really sit with it. I track it, and before I even begin a creation exercise, I just track it and see where it takes me. That's where the fascination comes in. And if there's something to write, then it gets started. If there isn't, it's okay.
Yeah, you can use it in the body, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's okay. And then maybe, an observing can come of that. It didn't happen, and that's okay. But in that observing, it might take me to a craving. Something might come up after having written that observing or observing being.
Yeah, I was fascinated by how quickly the craving came up. Because usually I start with an observing now. And I was fascinated by my body's craving its stability, her stability. So, yeah. So right now it is about sometimes one breath at a time, one word at a time, one slowly created activity at a time. It's not the time for us to be involving ourselves in a lot right now, because there's a lot to be with, and just being with that breath in the moment is huge, I think, with self-care. Right?
And even what came in as you were speaking was even one step at a time. If you were outside in nature, that is a tremendous form of self-care, with the breath also.
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you for this lovely conversation. This has been a lot of fun.
This has been great. Thank you.
And I hope it serves those who are called to watch this.
Yes.
One breath at a time, one step at a time.
That's right.
We'll get through it.
That's right. And take precious care.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.